What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking our top 5 do not draft running backs for the 2022 fantasy football season. These are all guys ranked inside the top 25 at the position that we are avoiding for one reason or another. So make sure to tune in. If you guys enjoy, hit that like button and subscribe. Give us a follow on Twitter at AllDayPigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comments section. Do you agree, disagree with these names? Who else would you put in this category along with any other questions you guys might have? We will do our best to answer them all. And lastly, make sure to check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. It has everything you can want at a great price. Top 150 overall player ranking in standard and PPR formats, individual player bios, tiers, projections, along with general fantasy advice. Details in the description. But with that being said, let's kick it off. And a quick note, this is PPR based, so keep that in mind when you see these rankings. That'll make a little bit more sense. And let's just kick it off. Let's start scrolling down. And I'm going to go all the way here to the number 18 spot, Mr. Cam Akers of the LA Rams. You see him here. And Akers, I think, is probably, if you had to give me one running back, that's the poster child for this category, the poster child for guys that I want nothing to do with this year. It is Cam Akers by a landslide. And here's the reason why. So, first and foremost, everybody was losing their mind last year about Cam Akers. Huge hype. You know, he was going like in the top 2 rounds. Then, unfortunately, he suffers an Achilles injury. And obviously, his 2021 season is shot. He somehow makes a recovery, comes back at the end of the year. But it was obvious for anyone that watched him that he wasn't 100% and he didn't have that same elusiveness. And, you know, that he was probably better suited as a backup and probably shouldn't have been activated to begin with. But now people are kind of reverting back to that 2021 preseason hype train of Cam Akers. They're saying, okay, well, the Achilles injury is in the past and he's the clear-cut number 1 guy for the Rams. That's, in my opinion, that could be the furthest thing from the truth. First and foremost, an Achilles injury is one of the hardest injuries to come back from at 100%, regardless of the position, but especially at running backs. You look at how many running backs have suffered an Achilles injury and then come back to play at an equally high standard, like it's non-existent. But on top of that, you know, Cam Akers is still essentially only a year removed from that injury. To me, it's going to take some time until the elusiveness returns, until the speed returns, until we see him being able to make those jukes, those moves, those fast breaks. I mean, hell, it took Saquon Barkley like a year and a half to recover from his ACL injury. I think Cam Akers is going to be as much, if not longer, with his Achilles. On top of that, the Rams offensive line took a little bit of a hit this offseason. I feel like not enough people are talking about that, whether it's retirements, whether it's losses in free agency. I think this unit is going to take a little bit of a step back. Now, it's not enough for me to say, like, avoid all of these running backs. That's not the case, but it's something to keep an eye out for. But the biggest reason for me here is honestly the depth at the running back position. Darrell Henderson last year proved, while Cam Akers was unavailable, that he could be the guy for the Rams. Like, he was putting low-end RB1 numbers for fantasy purposes when he was allowed to be the dude for the Rams. Now, then he ends up getting hurt. Sony Michel, that opens things up for him. He gets the job done. And I think it's going to be a similar situation here. They also invested draft capital in, you know, the running back position there via rookies. Now, yes, that situation is a little bit unfortunate. You've got a broken foot for the rookie running back, but I think that he's going to be obviously make a quicker recovery than you might have with a Cam Akers. But most importantly, you've got Darrell Henderson, who's still there. He's dealing with a minor, you know, soft tissue injury. I'm not too worried about that. Now, if literally every single other running back not named Cam Akers is somehow unavailable at the start of the season and the Rams don't add anyone, then it's a different conversation. But I don't see it going that way. So for that reason, because this is a serious injury with the Achilles, I don't think he'll be at 100%. With the depth at the position and with the step that this offensive line is going to take backwards, along with the, you know, price for Cam Akers, for God's sakes. I've seen some people draft him at the end of the second round, early third round. There's so many other names that you should have ranked higher than him, or even wide receivers at that point in time. To me, he is just somebody that I'm avoiding at all costs. Now, let's continue moving down this list. Next guy I have here is Antonio Gibson at the number 19 spot. So not going too down on the list, but with Gibson, it's more so here about the depth at the running back position for Washington and how they've commented that they want to utilize Gibson. So last year, okay, Gibson was technically an RB1, but there were inconsistencies. There were ups and downs. And, Gibson, a smaller running back, maybe you could say he has some injury concerns as well. It was cute to pretend that when Ron Rivera said, oh yeah, Gibson is going to be our version of Christian McCaffrey, that was going to be a thing, only for him this year to go ahead and draft Brian Robinson in the 2022 NFL draft, and then shortly thereafter say, we envision Antonio Gibson and Robinson as our Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo Williams from back in his days with Carolina. And that was essentially a 1-2 punch where you had a big-time running back by committee, and that's death for the fantasy position for running backs. Now, on top of that, you had the whole offseason fiasco with J.D. McKissic. He was supposedly going to join the Bills, but then he returns back to Washington. So what does that mean? Well, that means that the pass-catching duties will not be going the way of Antonio Gibson. They will stay with one J.D. McKissic. So essentially, you've got a guy that's not going to be your main pass catcher, and also a guy that's going to be losing carries to Brian Robinson, so you're not going to get the guaranteed usage in the red zone. You're not going to get the guaranteed high snap rates on first and second down. And you're on a team, okay, you get a quarterback upgrade in Carson Wentz. I don't necessarily think that's going to, do wonders for the running back position, though. So for that reason, I'm out Antonio Gibson. I think, Ron Rivera just kind of realized, okay, he isn't a guy that's built to be a lead running back, a 3-down back. We're going to utilize a system here. And the fact that he's still ranked as a top 20 running back and could be going in the third round of drafts, to me, that scares me off. I want nothing to do with any running back by committees in the first 3 rounds, hell, even in the first 4 rounds of fantasy drafts. Now, moving on, we get to another name here that I want to mention. That is Brees Hall of the New York Jets. And people are absolutely losing their minds about Brees Hall this year. I've seen some people have him ranked as high as a top 12 running back. If you say somebody rank Brees Hall as a top 12 running back, you have my permission. Go up to them, slap them upside the head, because that makes 0 sense in the world. Assuming all these guys stay healthy, there's no way Brees Hall finishes ahead of guys like Kamara, Fournette, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon, Christian McCaffrey. You get the point. So Brees Hall is not going to be an RB1. The problem is everybody is just assuming, oh yeah, this is going to be another year where we have a rookie running back finish as a top 10 guy, as an RB1. Look, not everybody can be a Najee Harris. Not everybody can be a Saquon Barkley. And Brees Hall, I don't like the landing spot for him. He's going to the New York Jets. And say what you will, but the New York Jets still haven't figured it out. Do you really believe in Zach Wilson? You think Zach Wilson is the answer at the quarterback position? What from last year that you saw makes you believe that? For me, I didn't really see much to say that, yeah, he's a franchise quarterback. So that essentially means you're going to have an offensively challenged team in the New York Jets who, oh yeah, by the way, still have Michael Carter, who they invested, kind of high-end draft capital in last season. That's also going to take away some carries. You're going to have a lot of negative game scripts here, and that's going to result in situations where Brees Hall, it just isn't being utilized to the effect that some expect. So sure, if it's a situation where I can get him like in the 7th or 8th round, then it's a different type of conversation, because at some point in time, everybody becomes a good value pick. But right now, with him going in the top 3 rounds and, his ADP potentially continuing to rise, I'm not going to be investing that high of draft capital on a guy on the New York Jets who have question marks. And there's also some competition with, a Michael Carter, when I can instead also, draft somebody like an Ezekiel Elliott, who is also going in the third round. To me, that is absolutely a no-brainer. Give me Zeke over so many of these guys that I've mentioned up until this point, and pretty much everybody. Next, we go to the number 23 spot. We have got J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, a lot of this is based on these PPR rankings. In standard formats, I would be more inclined to take a chance on J.K. Dobbins. But in PPR formats, I don't really want too much to do with a guy that's probably only going to have like 20 to 30 receptions on the year, if that. And then in addition to this, well, you could argue he's not even the best running back on his own team. That's, again, still Lamar Jackson. Nothing has changed there. Lamar's probably going to, again, rush for between 800 to 1,000 yards on the season. I think J.K. Dobbins, probably like 1,000 yards at best. And let's not forget, Dobbins is coming off an ACL injury. Now, to be fair, so is Gus Edwards, so maybe you call that a wash, Gus Edwards being the running back behind J.K. Dobbins, but even if those guys are both healthy and the ACL isn't an issue, Gus Edwards was being utilized, a decent amount the years prior when J.K. Dobbins was on the field. Like, it wasn't just the J.K. Dobbins show, and I feel like people don't realize that. So for that reason, because of the competition, because of the run heavy quarterback, because of the injury, I'm going to be out on J.K. Dobbins. I've always been out on these pretty much non-dual threat running backs in PPR formats for the most part, and especially ones that are kind of in a committee to begin with. So I'm passing on J.K. Dobbins. And then finally, we have got A.J. Dillon of the Green Bay Packers. He's a guy that people have been absolutely hyping up. And I said it last year, I'll say it again. If Aaron Jones had left the Green Bay Packers last year and not returned, I would be 100% on board. And once he does leave, I will be 100% on board with A.J. Dillon. But while Aaron Jones is there, I do not think you're going to see the type of season you want from A.J. Dillon. And look, even if you say like a 50-50 split between the two guys, which I don't think we're going to see, I still think this backfield belongs to Aaron Jones. And for all those people in the comment section that are going to say, yeah, well, what about last season when, A.J. Dillon outrushed Aaron Jones? If you look at those scenarios, they were either in A, blowouts, B, in situations where Aaron Jones was hurt, or, late in the season when it didn't really matter. Early in the season, the guy was getting like 4 or 5 rushes a game. And then on top of that, he's still not a factor in the pass catching department. That role belongs to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is the better overall running back. Like, what you're going to be hoping with A.J. Dillon is that he salvages his season in the touchdown department. I think that's the only way he'll return value with how high he's being drafted. I've seen him be drafted like in the 4th, 5th round. To me, that's way too high. So again, if you're saying that it's going to be a 50-50 split, then you're basically admitting that it's going to be a running back by committee. So that's another negative on top of all of this. A running back by committee guy in the top 25 that you're investing a 4th or 5th round pick in, no thank you. Again, Aaron Jones is the preferred pass catching running back. I would just have Aaron Jones pretty much in every conceivable sense ahead of A.J. Dillon. I think he is the guy that Aaron Rodgers trusts more, and when it's do or die, it'll be Aaron Jones in those situations. Now, if there's an injury, yeah, A.J. Dillon is super valuable. And for that reason, I think he's an incredibly valuable handcuff. But if Aaron Jones is on the field, then I just don't think A.J. Dillon will return value. You're going to get 5 to 7, 8 rushes a game for 50 yards, 60 yards at best, and then you're going to be praying for the touchdown. I will say no thank you to that, and for that reason, he rounds out this list of our top 5 running backs that you should not draft this 2022 fantasy football season. And with that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have? I will do my best to answer them all. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe. Again, check out the 2022 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide, now available for purchase. Details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.